We're talking aviation stocks. George Tsilis, our senior markets correspondent, looking at a few. George, what do we call them? What is this category? Joby and ACHR, which are these, what do you call them? They go straight up, right? They're like helicopters, but they're not vertical takeoff. Is it as simple as that? That's just best way to describe it? Is that technically the category?
Yeah, they're basically electric, helicopter-like vehicles, electric
Okay.
vehicle takeoff and landing, passenger transport vehicles is what it is. And essentially, they're kind of like air taxis. They seem to have found a way to defy, the aspect of battery density, weight versus the ability to transport folks and of course goods using these electric vehicle takeoff technologies. And these are a couple of the names that seem to be the most pronounced out there right now. And we've talked about these names in another segment, I know, with at least Alex or Jenny at their under 30 segment. But I mean, the technologies have actually been past their design phase. And I think if you look at both these names, just respectively in the last 6 months, you'll actually see a considerable move off of lows since the election. So what that tells me is that these two businesses are now not necessarily in the design phase anymore. They're now in the certification phase with the FAA. And particularly one of them, ACHR, I know has a contract with a consortium in Abu Dhabi and in Dubai to essentially start production of these vehicles,
These
assuming they
things are
get their
cool, man.
approval from the respective regulatory authorities there in 2025. So they're actually going to be utilizing them, according to the news, in 2025, but also manufacturing them in Dubai. So there's really three stages in this: design phase, certification phase, and of course implementation and sales phase. So it looks like they're in the certification phase. And based on the way that the stocks have moved since the election, one could say perhaps that regulations or a little bit more lax scrutiny from regulators might actually cause these technologies to take off, for lack of a better word, no pun intended, in the next 4 years or so. I mean, there's a lot that can happen in any technology in 4 years, considering a lot of these technologies are moving, from design phase to implementation in sort of an exponential fashion. So this is just another group of companies, a group of technologies, again, air transport, electric vehicle style, if you will, Uber of the skies kind of thing, that actually might work very well, especially for long haul transport of passengers. And I could also see, these types of technologies moving passengers from terminals to, either baggage claim areas or even to metro areas.
Oh, metro areas, baby. That's what they're doing first. They want to go. Their visualizations for Joby and ACHR both target New York, talking about how to get from downtown to JFK, 49 minutes. Obviously, that's nice. ACHR says downtown Manhattan to Newark, 9 minutes. Sorry, my bad. 9 minutes. So this is like, oh, by the way, the one I quoted for Joby, that was the car. Joby gets there in 7 minutes. Okay, so like, here's the fun part though. Whether it only takes 7 or 9 minutes to get from Manhattan to the airport, I'm probably still going to miss my flight, George. I'm going to cut it close.
You seem to live on the edge, OJ, all the time. Yeah, look, I think that's just meaningful. Anything that reduces time to travel. The other thing is these vehicles appear to be more quiet. I haven't listened to one or heard one than helicopters, which are more of a nuisance. But at the same time, you have to think about certification of pilots. I don't necessarily think, you're going to see just everyday drivers sign up for Uber, that sign up for Uber driving to be able to navigate pilot these vehicles.
Yeah, I don't think Joe Schmo is going to be.
There's going to be.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of training, and they're going to roll these out real slow because you're going to be flying over some pretty serious infrastructure in these places. I mean, the vision of doing it in Manhattan is probably a long ways off.
The reason I bring this up is it's important because you're not going to get this exponential growth in transport drivers like Uber, and so you have to keep that in mind that these vehicles are going to roll out slowly over time. But again, you have to consider these technologies are evolving to the point where you're getting lower battery density and weight. which again helps with the physics of flying, basically. And I'll put out this though. These stocks have been moved based upon regulatory favorability or the expectations of that. But the only one out of the two that's actually made any revenue is Joby, and based on their income statements, 1.1 million last year. Market cap of that one's around 6 billion. So for what it's worth, keep that in mind. Archer 3.3 billion, but Abu Dhabi and of course the UAE, they've got a lot of money and they're investing heavily in these technologies because there's a lot of open spaces
That makes sense.
that they can fly and also test these vehicles. And I think that's compelling. But again, until they actually launch the vehicles, they're going to need a lot of capital financing through secondary offerings to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, fun stuff, George. Seems as good of a week to start thinking about the future as ever. Appreciate it. Nice work this week, George Tsilis.